Ajá. Ajá. Could I speak to somebody in Pharmaceuticals? I'm Geeta Krishna.
Very good evening, sir.
Good evening,
This is
sir.
Lakshmi from Pharmexcil.
Hi, Lakshmi. I wanted to help. I wanted to know
Yes.
whether I can share my content or you will be showing it for me. Oh, because you are already sharing some content. That's why it's not possible for me. I think
Yes,
you are
sir.
sharing.
Sir, you can share your presentation when your turn comes, sir. We'll enable this share screen option for you to share your presentation.
My question was, how does it say? Does it say share your presentation, or does it say share your screen? What is the usual format in WebEx? Do you know that?
Sir,
Sir, at the bottom
actually,
side, there,
Yeah.
good evening, sir. Sir,
sir,
actually,
I will
at
be
the
calling
bottom.
you when your present.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see the share content option here. My question was, you will have to share the content or share the screen or share the presentation.
Sir, you will have to share the screen.
Share the screen.
Yes, and
Okay,
then
right,
when you will open the
fine.
presentation, we will be able to see it.
Okay, right. I understand. Because
That
in one format, one platform, you can share the file itself. Here you cannot share the file. It is basically the screen that I'm
it's
sharing.
the screen. Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh, okay, right. Thanks. Thank you.
That option will be available only when the host will give you the presenter a screen. So whenever the turn will come, our host will give the presentation one by one. Because in this system, only one person is allowed to share the screen at one time.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you. Prashant sir. Prashant sir, can you hear me? Prashant sir, actually, I just got a message from Colombia that they are not able to connect because of some reason which says you cannot start or join this WebEx meeting because it is not enabled for WebEx meetings, video conferencing, which is not supported by your browser.
ब्राउजर के साथ नहीं है ना, वो इंस्टॉल करना पड़ेगा. Run as temporary file.
Okay, just one minute.
Probably ask them to use Chrome. They might not be using Chrome sometimes.
Let me see.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But my webcam is not coming on Cisco Pharmexcil. We can't connect to your webcam. I'm using another application. I don't know what the hell it is saying.
Probably there might be some settings you. Oh. Very good morning, sir.
Hi, Lakshmi. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
His
Okay,
Excellency,
excellent.
good morning. I'm Dr. Dua. I'm the chairman of Pharmexcil. What a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Yes. Hello, Dr. Dua. Pleasure meeting you too. Thank you for doing this. A very topical theme, really. And I think Pharmexcil and medicines is really the rage and the expectation and the hopes.
Absolutely, sir. And I nostalgically recall in the 90s and thereafter in the 2000, I met Hardeep ji in Brazil
Okay.
when he
Right.
was the minister. Oh, sorry, he was the ambassador. And those
Right.
memories till date, both of us remember. Hardeep ji as well
Right.
as I. It's so fresh in the memory.
Right.
We were taking tiny steps in Brazil, and today we are a behemoth by our standards in Brazil.
Right. Right. Yeah. Quite right. Yeah. Morning, Inder.
Good morning.
I'm very good. I'm very good. Dr. Dua, Mr. Inder Singh is Inder Pal Singh. He's the president of the India-Mexico business team.
Oh, wow. Awesome, Inderji. Located in Mexico, Inderji?
Yes, sir. From last 25 years, I've been here. at your service.
So good morning to you.
Good evening to you. Yes, exactly.
It's such a beautiful country, sir. I was a president in 2005, and I landed up in Intercontinental Hotel. And my agents and guys told me, "Sir, you stay there, don't get out. Otherwise, you never know when and where are you going to vanish." Those are the days.
Well, that's not how it is anymore in Mexico. It's pretty safe. You can go out and have a good time, especially near Intercontinental. That place has developed a lot since then, last 10 years. Very good. And now, right in front of it, you have a very beautiful Indian restaurant as well, which was very much inaugurated by our dear ambassador, Mr. Manpreet Bora, last year. So, the place has changed. You should come over to Mexico and give us the opportunity.
Sir, let COVID flatten off, and I'm going to be there, sir. Definitely.
It'd be nice to have you.
Pleasure of meeting His Excellency also in person.
Yes.
Well, we did have a Pharmexcil delegation last year that came here. Yes. I don't know when business travel can resume and delegations can come again.
Oh,
I hope it will be soon. But till such time, I think we have no option but to just do these webinars.
Life has so dramatically changed, sir. I'm very fond of saying two more viruses apart from COVID. One is the VC virus and the other one is the webinar virus. I mean, it's happening.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, what do you expect from a pharmaceutical person to consider this as a virus also?
In a day, on an average, I end up doing 3 to 5 webinars. And, my wife says, you get to webinars and not to me. Such a lot of webinars happening.
So, Lakshmi, we are in your hands. It's 8 o'clock now. I'm in Mexico time at least. So, whenever you want to begin, we leave it to you.
We are about to begin in a couple of minutes, sir. So, Sanjay is finding some difficulty logging in. Just give me 2 minutes, sir. We are
Sure. No problem.
Actually, there is some problem from Colombia. They are unable to join.
Oh, really?
Yes. Many of them.
Sorry to hear that.
Yes, we are trying to fix it.
Okay, right.
Just give us 5 minutes. That's all.
No problem. No problem.
It happens, sir, on this webinar in VCs when the Wi-Fi, kind of dips down a little here and there, even in India, where we have extended Geo now. It happens and then it suddenly breaks off and springs back to life all of a sudden.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it's all dependent on connectivity. So,
we're very keenly looking forward to 5G from Reliance Jio, sir. And that will be a game changer for us. Indigenous 5G.
Yeah, what are the timelines for that?
Sir, they're saying that most likely in another 9 to 12 months, depending on the corona situation. Because they'll have to have man movement to ensure that it gets lit in the urban areas.
Right.
So that might slightly delay, but 1 year is the maximum.
Right. Well, 4G is not bad, Frank, and none of us really know what 5G is supposed to be. I mean, we only heard about it, right? We haven't really seen any. Yeah, it's supposed to be lightning fast, etc., etc.
We might as well we might as well, along with China, be the first country to usher in 5G, because Europe and UK has gone off mobile, and China does have mobile, so they might, move ahead of us. US is not going to take anybody on.
We have His Excellency Sanjeev Ranjan joining the conference, sir. Welcome, sir.
Morning to everybody.
Excellent. Hi, morning, Sanjeev.
Morning, sir.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good morning, His Excellency Sanjeev Ji. This is Dr. Dinesh, the Chairman of Pharmaceuticals. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you so much for organizing this.
Such a pleasure to have you over along with Manpreet Ji, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Sanjeev Ji. This is Inder Singh from Mexico.
Mr. Singh, how are you?
I'm good, sir. Good to have you. Welcome.
Lakshmi, can we get started?
Yes, sir. With your permission, I will start the program. Very good morning to everyone in Latin America and good evening to the Indian participants. It's a great pleasure for us to extend warm welcome to you all for today's webinar on India, Colombia and Mexico Cooperation in Pharmaceutical Sector, hosted by Pharmaceuticals Export Promotion Council of India in partnership with Colombia India Chamber of Commerce and India Mexico Business Chamber. Pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Ambassador of India in Colombia and His Excellency Mr. Manpreet Bora, Ambassador of India in Mexico. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request and joining us today. We are pleased to have our Chairman, Dr. Dinesh Dua, and the Chairman of Colombia India Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Jaime Mantilla, and the Chairman of India Mexico Business Chamber, Mr. Inder Singh. Welcome you all, sir.
Thank you.
Today, we are proud to bring you the regulators, the officials from the World Health Organization, and the officials from the government agencies, both from Colombia and Mexico, and the leaders and the industry stalwarts from the three nations. We welcome all the delegates and all the speakers and our partners and friends from the industry. We all know Latin America is one of the potential market for Indian pharmaceutical sector, and Pharmexcil, with the kind support of embassies, have been leading the trade delegations from the past 10 years. And of course, Mexico and Colombia are the focus market for Indian pharma industry in LAC region. However, sir, considering the pandemic situation, we are making our efforts towards the virtual promotional activities.
Yeah, got
In
it.
this
Got it.
endeavor,
I'm in.
we are pleased to partner with Colombia India Chamber of Commerce and India Mexico Business Chamber in organizing today's webinar. So the idea of the webinar is to initiate dialogues with the business communities in both these nations and to look at what could be the agenda of the larger programs planned for later in year. So we are hoping to organize a virtual B2B meetings in the coming months. With that note, I welcome all the dignitaries and the delegates for the webinar. Sir, I'm sorry to inform you that our Director General, Mr. Uday Bhaskar, could not able to join the program because of some personal health issues of his family members. Now, may I request Mr. Sanjeev Ranjan, Ambassador of India to Colombia, to address the gatherings.
Good evening to all participants in India and good morning to friends in Latin America. Let me thank Pharmexcil and the bilateral chambers for organizing this interaction. Friends, we are living in one of the most challenging times under the pandemic. One of the first lessons that clearly has come home is the need for countries to focus attention on their health sectors. Whether it is health infrastructure, creation of surge capacity, health information, exchange of experiences, or supplies of pharmaceuticals. The ravages of this pandemic are not only going to be immediate, but increasingly it appears that efforts would have to be made to attend to its long-lasting impact on the health of our peoples in the medium to long run. Till such time therapeutics and vaccines do not become widely available, which may be sometime in the future, we would require pharmaceuticals of all types to alleviate the health situation in our countries. India's role as a pharmacy of the world has come into focus during this pandemic. As the largest manufacturer of generic drugs in the world, and over 3,000 pharmaceutical companies, and more than 10,000 manufacturing units, the moniker Pharmacy of the World aptly describes the pharmaceutical sector of India. In the midst of the pandemic, India went out of its way to be a net provider of health security and assisted over 150 countries with much needed medicines and medical supplies, and deployed medical teams to several countries on their request to deal with the pandemic. Indian pharmaceutical industry exports over $20 billion of pharmaceutical products around the world, with major share of exports destined for developed markets such as the United States and countries in the European Union and Asia. However, in 2019-20, India's exports of pharma products to Colombia were valued at less than $100 million out of total Colombian pharma imports of almost $2.66 billion US. I would thus argue that intensifying cooperation in the pharmaceutical sector between India and Colombia is imperative. I would like to suggest a few areas where efforts need to be directed based on my experience here and in other countries in the region. First, there is need to enhance information awareness of India's pharma sector. This conference does exactly that. I would suggest and second what was said earlier by Lakshmi, that we need to organize B2B virtual meetings with specific subsectors in mind, such as bulk drugs, intermediates, etc. We would be very happy to assist in the organization of such meetings. On the other hand, I would argue that there is need for my Colombian friends to look into the opportunity cost between extending good quality medicines from India at cheaper rates and reaching a larger proportion of the population vis-a-vis reaching only a limited part of the population. At the macro level, such an examination should also see the impact on public expenditure on the health sector and the GDP. Second, the pandemic makes it incumbent on all of us to re-examine most of our established practices, norms, and regulations. I see regulatory processes in the pharmaceutical sector as a relevant area of focus. As I mentioned earlier, the pandemic will leave lasting impact on our population, in addition to the normal disease burden. Clear, transparent, cost-effective, and speedy approval and registration process is the need of the hour to enhance access to pharma products. I would like to suggest that fast-track mechanisms could be considered for products manufactured in US FDA or other regulatory agencies approved plants in India. We understand that reforms are underway in the regulatory processes in Colombia. We hope this is concluded at the earliest possible. I would also like to suggest that Pharmexcil could consider organizing a symposium on the regulatory systems between the two countries so that it could serve as a precursor for concluding agreement between the Colombian regulatory agency INVIMA and the Central Drug Standard Control Organization of India for an efficient regime for registration of Indian pharma products. Third, India has the world's oldest plant-based traditional medicine system to boost immunity and strengthen our innate capacity to fight infections. The registration pathways for Ayurvedic products needs to be delineated by the relevant Colombian authorities so that Ayurvedic products become available to consumers over here. In the post-COVID-19 world, Indian pharma companies could also consider investing in the Colombian pharma sector, create subsidiaries and joint ventures to manufacture products locally, which in addition to serving the domestic market could reach out to other countries in the region. In conclusion, let me underscore the importance of concerted efforts by all stakeholders to intensify cooperation in the vital sector of pharmaceuticals. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for your gentle words about the Indian pharma industry and the proposed way forward to enhance our exports to Colombia. We are happy to share with you that, sir, we have proposed the Minister of Health to have a regulatory symposium with the regulatory agencies of the overseas nations, sir. And we are hoping to have a positive outcome in that direction. Thank you again, sir. Now, I would like to take the privilege of inviting His Excellency Mr. Mantri Thora to extend his remarks to the audience. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone in India. Buenos días a todas y a todos en Mexico y en Colombia. Thank you, Pharmexcil, for organizing this webinar. I believe it could not be a better time to discuss how to improve cooperation between India, Mexico, and Colombia in the area of pharmaceuticals. These are all large countries and developing economies striving to improve their healthcare delivery systems, even while financial resources remain a challenge. If there is one thing that the COVID-19 pandemic has illustrated quite starkly, at least here in Mexico, it is the income inequalities and the rather large proportion of population that remains poor and vulnerable and requires easier access to affordable medicines. Financial strain on the public healthcare sector is also quite evident. At the same time, the value proposition that the Indian pharmaceutical industry has offered for years to the world has become even more attractive. I believe that policymakers in Mexico, both at the federal and the state levels, need to make better use of what India offers as the world's largest exporter of high quality and cost-effective generic drugs. Unfortunately, they have not fully seized this opportunity so far. So while Mexico imports almost $4.5 billion worth of pharmaceutical products every year, only about $160 million, or 3.5% only, come from India, and vast majority is from USA and Europe. Contrast this with USA itself, which is the most highly regulated market with the strictest quality and sanitary standards. USA imports over $7.5 billion worth of generic drugs from India every year, or almost 50 times more than Mexico, for a population size that is not even 3 times larger. In my view, the government of Mexico needs to look at two strategies. Firstly, to directly import for its public hospitals and clinics quality generic drugs, which are much cheaper and will therefore require no additional budgets. On the contrary, existing budgets will go much further in meeting public healthcare targets at lower costs. Secondly, to bring down the prices of medicines in the local pharmacies so that the money spent by the poor and the middle class individuals and households on this essential need is reduced. At present, medicines in the Mexican pharmacies are simply too expensive. It is heartening to see that the first strategy is now being attempted. Last month, Mexico signed an agreement with the United Nations Office for Project Services, or UNOPS, whereby UNOPS will manage the annual consolidated purchase of medicines for the government of Mexico. These will be global tenders, and I urge Indian manufacturers and exporters and Pharmexcil to look out for them. The second strategy will require Mexico, or more specifically the Drug Regulatory Agency, COFEPRIS, to revise its drug registration process. At present, this simply takes too much time. And in my view, this is not conducive to meeting President López Obrador's objective of making medicines affordable and accessible for the Mexican public, a goal which is even more urgent at a time of economic difficulties that may last for quite a long time. There are several ways to simplify the process without sacrificing the all-important aspect of quality and safety. For example, we have often suggested to COFEPRIS and to other Mexican officials that those Indian drugs and pharmaceutical factories that are already approved by the US FDA and or by the European Medicines Agency and or meet the WHO GMP standards should be fast-tracked for registration, import, and sale in Mexico. I hope very much that these and possibly other suggestions are receiving due attention within the Mexican government. And to my Indian colleagues, I would also urge you to look at investing and manufacturing in Mexico. Many Indian pharmaceutical companies are already here and doing well, I believe, and there is certainly space for more in this large and attractive market and region. I see that much of what I have said or suggested is also the view of my colleague, Ambassador Sanjeev Ranjan in Bogota. So there are similar, perhaps, strategies to be followed by the Indian pharmaceutical industry, perhaps by industry organizations like Pharmexcil and its counterpart, by the chambers of commerce, and of course by local governments, be they Colombian or be they Mexican. Thank you all. I look forward to the rest of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the latest updates on the Mexican pharma industry and the tendering process and the suggestions that you have provided to the Indian players to expand their market presence in Mexico. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. May I now request Mr. Jamie Mantila, Chairman of Colombia India Chamber of Commerce.
Actually, Mr. Jamie is unable to connect. He is trying, but there is some network issue. So
Okay.
maybe we
We'll
can.
go ahead with the program.
He's trying to join. Just wait for. Maybe we can.
Meanwhile, we'll proceed with the program agenda.
Yes. Yes.
Now I take the pleasure of inviting our chairman, Dr. Dinesh Dhuaji, to present about the strengths and capabilities of Indian industry in serving the global needs. Welcome you, sir. I'm sorry, sir, you are muted, sir.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Can you give me the rights to upload the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Can you see, Lakshmi, can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir, we can see.
All right, excellent. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen in Latin America, Colombia, and Mexico, and good evening here to colleagues in India. His Excellencies Sanjeev Ranjanji, Indian Ambassador to Colombia, and His Excellency Manpreet Voraji, Indian Ambassador to Mexico. Distinguished delegates from both Colombia and Mexico, as well as my colleagues from India, and other distinguished participants from 3 countries. It's indeed been an honor to be present in this particular interaction. And thank you indeed to Uday Bhaskar, my colleague in Pharmexcil, as well as Lakshmi and other colleagues in Pharmexcil to put it all together. I completely agree with both His Excellencies that there couldn't have been a better time than today, when the whole world is suffering from huge global pandemic, likes of which were witnessed only in 1908 or 1980, I beg your pardon, known as Spanish flu. Spanish flu accounted for 50 million deaths, 5 crore deaths, right? And India accounted for 20 million out of that under the British regime. I sincerely pray and hope that those kind of numbers are not replicated, are not repeated. And India, of course, as rightly pointed out by both His Excellencies, stands at the forefront in our war that we are waging against this global pandemic, COVID-19. With this backdrop, I would like to take you forwards about where Indian pharmaceutical industry has gone from the time when I passed out of Harvard-promoted Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, in 1979 to where we are today. It'll be very interesting for both His Excellencies, Colombian counterparts and Mexican counterparts to know that in the 70s, when I passed out and joined the largest pharmaceutical company in the world called Herx Pharmaceuticals, which was rechristened after serial mergers as Sanofi Aventis, the 3rd largest in the world, my job, ladies and gentlemen, was to make sure that we import everything. Nothing is going to be indigenously made. What a shame at that point in time, but we couldn't help it, right? We were importing anything in formulation, anything in API, everything in intermediates, and everything that had to do with life sciences and healthcare. You know, in came the Uruguay Latin American round of talks, and the then Prime Minister and the bureaucrats, hats off to them. They did not agree with the TRIPS agreement in that form and presentation. We didn't sign on the dotted line. If we had signed on the dotted line, unfortunately, things could have been very difficult. And like many, many countries, particularly some of our neighboring countries, we would be beggars on the street as far as pharmaceuticals is concerned. A clarion call was given at that point in time to the Indian industry, who did not know much about pharmaceuticals at that point, particularly APIs, right? And of course, the academia. It was not voluntary. It was not something which came out of nowhere. It was just that passionate, patriotic. We just went past our Independence Day. The patriotic call by the then Prime Minister as well as the bureaucratic forces that we at that point in time. And lo and behold, in close to about 40 years, India has become the pharmacy to the world. I'm very proud to say that we 33% of the generic formulation space in the world. Every third, medicine or pill, particularly oral formulations, capsules, like tablets or suspensions, geriatric, pediatric, they're all from India, right? Every second pill in UK is all from India. Every second injectable intravenous, which is so high technology, comes from India, and we control 33% of the market share in Europe. So it's a matter of pride, and even bigger pride for us that during this pandemic, when President Trump picked up the phone and spoke to our captain, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji, for sending, hydroxychloroquine, HCQ as we call it, right? US was using, close to about, 45 crore tablets, 450 million tablets. In no time, we sent 1 billion tablets, and thus, Indo-US relationship improved beyond any sense of recognition. Similarly, it didn't end there. 120 countries were supplied hydroxychloroquine, paracetamol, and many more. So India has kind of become a behemoth of global generics with eye towards every country in the world. 206 countries out of 211, and even those 5 are supplied through Paris in Francophone countries. So that's the kind of transition, ladies and gentlemen, which has come about in the last 40 years. So before I get on to the mainstream presentation, I would like to highlight the role of Pharmexcil, Pharmaceutical Export Promotion Council. This was instituted by Ministry of Commerce, Government of India. The current, Minister of Commerce and Industries, Honorable Mr. Piyush Goyal, is one of the most dynamic bosses that I have. And we work 24/7 along with him. His energy, his passion for pharmaceuticals, and of course, everything else that gets exported out of India is immeasurable completely. So we as Pharmaceutical Export Promotion Council have 4,500 Indian companies as our member companies. And we act as facilitators. We organize export promotion events and trade delegations. As both Honorable His Excellency stated that we must have symposia and trade delegations, particularly His Excellency Manpreet ji remembered about last year's delegation to Mexico. We are industry's voice. We represent issues with the concerned agencies, may it be global or local. We are advisory to, suggest to the government of India and regulators on the policy framework, issues relating particularly to pharma exports and also to a larger extent in the domestic. The Indian market is a very large market. We educate the market and regulatory reports of the countries, and very well stated, both His Excellencies, that the regulatory harmonization is a must. Today we are in a situation where US FDA is separate, EU is separate, and then there are 100-odd countries which are separate. Now, this involves so much amount of time, energy, and money in order to walk the talk in terms of educating, in terms of the regulatory landscape. Why can't we have just uniform, harmonized kind of stuff? By the way, US and Europe have already entered into an agreement 2 years ago where they would mutually accept and honor the inspections. There are other mechanisms, but unfortunately, PICS countries, for example, this harmonization did take place. But over the years, last 10 years or so, a lot of countries are moving away from PICS and insisting on their own inspections. And I totally agree that unless we harmonize it, it'll be a complete humongous amount of time, money, and energy which is going to be wasted. We also educate importers and distributors amongst all the countries where we export. Now, just to let you know about where we stand in terms of our current size, our market size is $41 billion. It's divided equally in domestic, that's India, and export, equally divided 50-50. Went up from US $6 billion in 2005 with a CAGR of 17% to $41 billion. Excuse me. And if I include APIs, then the figure goes up to $51 billion. Now that's the value. Now you translate that into volume, and we are the 3rd largest in the world. In value terms, we are the 9th largest in the world. And, we export to more than 206, this is a slightly dated number, 206 countries out of 211. We account for 22% of global exports, and our last year's exports to the world were $21 billion. Had it not been for the lockdown in the last week of March, starting on 25th March, this figure was definitely going to be $22 billion. But nonetheless, we'll make sure that we catch up during the current year. Our CAGR, compounded average growth rate, over the last 5 years has been 13%, which is very impressive, highest in the world, including China. And we have attracted in pharmaceutical space, life sciences space, 5% of total FDIs in India, which amounts to $14 billion. Now, just to give you a flavor of how Indian pharmaceutical companies have contributed to better health outcomes globally, we produce 60% of the global vaccines. And when you say vaccine, it kind of energizes you. Even the Honorable Prime Minister of India stated that during its Independence Day speech just about a couple of days ago, that we have 3 front runners out of 30 who would be the first 5 to bring the COVID-19 vaccine. You have Oxford in UK, you have Moderna in US, and then you have 3 Indian companies, which are Zydus Cadila Healthcare, my ex-company where I was the president for 5 years. And then you have my dearest friend, Bharat Biotech, which is producing an intranasal vaccine, going to follow the same route which is followed by this COVID-19 virus, right? And thirdly, you have Serum Institute of India, which is into a tripartite collaboration with Oxford and AstraZeneca. So we're very hopeful that we would be one amongst the 5 to be right up there and again produce the largest amount of vaccines in the world. We currently produce that, and in COVID also, we'll stretch that extra mile to make sure that we supply 60% of the global vaccine requirements even today. 90% of the WHO demand for measles vaccines is met by India. 40 to 70% of the WHO demand for diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, DPT as we call it, and BCG for TB, Bacillus calmette-guerin vaccines are produced in India and supplied all over the world through WHO. We are driving the access of medicines globally, as I said earlier, 25% of medicines used in UK. And if you take the orals, it's about 50%. 33% pills consumed 1 by 3 in US, as I said earlier. 37% of the AIDS patients receiving treatment in 2009 versus 2% in 2003. Look at the transitions, and my sense is, this figure has gone beyond 50% currently. In terms of where we stand globally in the regulatory landscape, we have, ladies and gentlemen, the highest number of US FDA approved sites outside India. My sense currently is that it's even higher than US in the last 2 months. We've overtaken US in terms of highest number of US FDA approved sites outside of US. So therefore, this urge and appeal to both the governments, the heads of the states, through our Honorable His Excellencies, that if we are US FDA approved, where the measurements, where the levels of regulatory landscape are the largest and the stiffest in the world, why can't we just look at that, give the automatic route of approval? Although having said that, in my company, we are one of the largest API exporters. Mexico does recognize if you're EU GMP approved. So some distance has been covered, but a lot needs to be done as we go along. 30% of abbreviated new drug applications, which is a passport for any life sciences molecules in the United States, are held by us, a staggering number of 5029. 33% of CEPs, that's Certificate of European Pharmaceutical Standards, is held by India, the largest again. Number is again staggering, 1744s. Number of sites with EU GMP, again the largest in the world at 700. And we have a very robust presence in almost all the semi-regulated markets, Southeast Asia, CIS, and of course, LATAM. Brazil, we are the market leaders in generic space for sure. Now, what has been India's contribution to the suffering mankind? Medicines sans frontiers. Purchase of 80% of ARVs globally takes place from India. We have a partnership model with global NGOs, United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Global Foundation, and Clinton Foundation. They're deeply entrenched. They have their offices here in India. And the largest purchase of cost-effective, very high-quality medicine takes place from here. Indian generic ARVs approved by the US FDA also resulted in cost savings of 99.0% of the ARVs for PEPFAR. WHO, 90% of WHO pre-qualified APIs are sold in India. That's the kind of landscape that we have globally. Now let's come to the latest drug, which is creating waves, and the availability is a question mark. We were very fortunate that in terms of HCQ, as I said earlier, 112 nations were supplied by India, out of which 40 was supplied free of cost, those who could not afford it. HCQ, after huge amount of controversy, again has been unequivocally established as the right kind of treatment for early stages of COVID-19. There were controversies. Those controversies by Lancet has been put behind them. They've admitted that they were motivated, and therefore India stands very tall. We have the largest capacity of HCQs, both APIs as well as the formulations, and therefore we came to the rescue of all the nations at a time when it mattered most. Now let's come to remdesivir. Now remdesivir is a Gilead product, and Gilead, which has a great outstanding relationship with India for ARVs, came forward to supply 127 nations through 6 Indian companies: Hetero, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, Jubilant, Zydus, and of course Biocon's counterpart, Syngene. Now they have such an immense faith in India that they went ahead and signed this kind of a unique deal. And I'm sure very soon, right now, we are catering to the domestic demand. And I think give it another 1 month's time, thereabouts, we should be able to, one, manufacture it out there in a couple of countries where the facilities exist, and export abundantly like HCQ to the rest of the countries. Now, the vaccines that I said earlier, I stated earlier, referred to it, that Oxford has had a deal with Serum Institute and AstraZeneca, partnership with Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, and Bill and Melinda Gates for 100 million doses. Bharat Biotech, Covaxin is in the second stage of trial. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, during this pandemic, the largest time which is taken by a vaccine for approval is, phase 3. Now, if the safety and toxicity data in phase 2 trials, which in case of Oxford is about 1,000 patients, and similarly for the rest of them, that is Kerala, Bharat, biological events also, right? It could be waived based on the quality of the data, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the data so far has been extremely, extremely optimistic and excellent. And I'm reasonably sure that Oxford, Bharat, and Zydus will go through fine, and I pray and hope that even Janssen Pharmaceutical collaboration with biological events will take place. The timelines are difficult to predict, but we assume by first quarter of the next year, Jan, March, or December, if we are very lucky indeed, we should see India playing its role in the vaccine as well. Let's look at some of the wonderful quotes by global leaders, business leaders. Bill Gates said, Indian pharma industry can produce COVID-19 vaccines for the entire world. There you go, because he has experienced it. His foundation has experienced it. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, said Indian pharma industry is an asset, not just for India, but as pharmacy to the world, for the entire world. We feel very, very proud with these two statements and many more. Now, coming to the exports that India has been doing over the years, we've grown by, as I said earlier, 17% CAGR. And this is the curve which tells you, the line curve, which tells you how we've moved ahead, in terms of its turnover, the value turnover. Export outlook, over 55% of our exports are to highly regulated markets like the United States, whole of EU, UK, Japan, South Korea, Turkey, and many more. So, and formulations constitute close to about 76.5%. And API and intermediates are 18.8%, surgicals are 3.06%, and Ayush, His Excellency mentioned about that, is at 2%, but we have huge hopes in terms of making sure that this could be like the Chinese medicines, and this could be the biggest breakthrough in the next coming decade, in parallel to the formulation biologicals and APIs that we have in the chemical space. In terms of the distribution of our exports, North America is 34%, Europe is 15%, Africa is 17%, and then you have many, many, many more, which I'll show you in the next slide. Just 1 minute. Now, here we go in terms of the rest of the countries. So North America, 34%, Africa, very major partner. In volume, Africa is the #1 country that we export to, 52 odd countries. Then you have Europe at 15%. Latin America, 7% could be much, much more. I sense that if things get harmonized, if Latin American governments like that of Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, and many more, if they, kind of dovetail into the Indian generic success and the kind of pricing that we offer, the kind of quality that we offer, this 7% can easily become 50% over the next 1 decade. And we're looking forward to that. And this webinar is a step in that direction. ASEAN is 6%, Middle East 5%, CIS 5%. That's another area where we would expand very significantly. Middle East excluding, Middle East is, Asia excluding Middle East, I beg your pardon, is 4%, Oceania 2%, small markets. And other European markets are 1%, and other Americas, very insignificant. Now, in terms of top 10 exporting destination, obviously, US is right on the top with $6 billion, growth of 16%. South Africa, in terms of countries, is at 610 million, UK at 558 million, Russia 552, Germany, beg your pardon, is 504, and Brazil 473, very major part of our Latin American disposition. Nigeria 419, Canada 334, Netherlands 319, and France, of course, 309. It's my wish, and it's the wish of the industry, along with collaboration with our counterparts in both the countries, that Mexico and Colombia should also figure in the top 15 first, and then maybe as things move on to the top 10. India's exports to Latin American countries. Now let's look at this. Market size is $67 billion US, very sizable, and generic market is 17 billion. India's exports so far have been, in 19 was $1.3 billion and $1.341 billion. I think this figure is very, very small, needs to go up. Formulations constitute 55%, including biologicals. APIs and intermediates are significant at 28%, and surgicals 3%. Ayush and herbal is just about a bare minimum 1%. So this is how we are spread across Latin America in terms of $1.34 billion. Brazil is right on top with $473 million. Can be much more steps being taken to take it to $1 billion. This by and large. The amazing part is, ladies and gentlemen, that Brazil and Mexico have the same size. It's about $9 billion each. But of course, the pricing in Mexico is far more attractive. Brazil is hardly about 30% of the price evaluation vis-a-vis Mexico. Issue is that Mexico, unfortunately, has been giving more and more space to other countries than India. And I promise you, if you look at India afresh, like the way US, Europe, Japan, South Korea, Brazil, collaborate with India, I think you would stand to benefit huge sums of money. You would be very, very pleasantly surprised to know, as per US statistics, they have saved more than $100 billion in the last 5 years by accessing most cost-effective and very high-quality drugs from India. If US can, I'm sure Mexico can and Colombia can. Colombia currently is at about $96 million, can go very significantly. Colombia's market, $1 generic market is 43% at 2.04. FTF, that is formulations and biologics, is 52, and 15% is vaccine, and APIs are 30%. FTF constitutes about 3 million, vaccines 13, surgicals 2, APIs 29, and Ayush and a small little amount of 0.67 million. So this is broadly where we are in terms of the Colombian market per se, in the generic space. Colombia's, top 10 formulation partners are US. US currently is at 22%. Germany is 18%. Switzerland is 9%. France and India is number 9 at 3.35%. Now, just imagine the cost arbitrage with Europe and vis-a-vis US. It's amazing. I would, make that comparison at some point in time when we get there, or when we have another meeting amongst all the participants, that this could vary from anything between 5x to 10x. The question is, would you want to let go of that precious money, and most of it is government money spent on the public, to take drugs from those countries. I'm talking about the generic space. I'm not talking about the innovative space. So that's perfectly justified. Even we import significant amounts of innovative drugs as per the TRIPS Act. All these three countries, India, Colombia, as well as Mexico, are TRIPS compliant. So there are no complaints in that. But generic space is one where it could make all the difference to the government exchequer for both the countries. In terms of Mexico, a very large market, same as in value terms, same as Brazil, about $11 billion. Generic market is 3.2. That's about almost around 31% of the market. APIs and intermediates are 55%. Biologicals and FTF is 27%. Vaccines 30%. Now, FTF is one area where a lot can be done between India and Mexico. My own company has introduced a new molecule recently in collaboration with a Mexican partner, and we succeeded immensely, and we are rapidly gaining market share. So this is just one example. There could be hundreds of such examples in Mexico through a collaboration. So FTF, that is formulations, is 43 million, vaccines 21 million, surgicals 5.1, API is 87 million, and IUs is about 4 million. Again, here again, the picture is the same. US is the largest partner at 32%, Germany 18, and India figures at number 30. It's such a big scope for India to move up the ladder and to be in the first top 5 through generic space. India is gradually moving into the innovation space, and you will see, ladies and gentlemen, in the next 5 years, you will have at least 10 new molecules like Europe and US coming into the market through India. There is another anti-dumping duty imposed on India's imports into Mexico for metoprolol and dicloxacillin and amoxicillin. We've been working with the Mexican authorities to make sure that we work out a mechanism through which we collaborate and don't get into ADDs being imposed on each of the country. That kind of receives business rather than promotes business. So we are both committed to that. Now, lastly, but very importantly, what is the way forward in terms of accelerating India's exports? First and foremost, affordable, very high quality generics, which are well accepted over the world. 40% of the market share in the United States, 33% elsewhere, are the topmost alternative to healthcare expenditure of both the countries, particularly now when there is a huge economic crisis. GDPs are contracting all over the world. We were growing, ladies and gentlemen, at 8.59%. We would degrow this year because of this pandemic to minus 4.5%. UK has contracted 20%. US is likely to give out a number beyond 20%. I can assure you, I'm sure that's the case with both Colombia and Mexico as well. So therefore, every penny is every penny created in this pandemic economic distress conditions. Policy measures of the Indian government to reduce import dependence has happened. A stimulus to the extent of almost around $1.5 billion has been given. If any companies from Mexico and Brazil want to participate through a collaboration, more than welcome. But the impact of this would be, you would not have to depend on our neighbor anymore in the next 2 to 3 years. You will get excellent quality APIs, KSMs, key starting raw materials and intermediates from India, with excellent, support, regulatory support. Our neighbor is not able to give you regulatory support. Our neighbor is not able to face audits. That's why their approvals in US FDA are next to nothing. They are nothing in formulations, with all due apologies to them. Whereas we have weighted average 33% market share across the length and breadth of the world, including the most regulated markets. These schemes of promotion of bulk drug parks, 3 bulk drug parks, will go a long, long way in neutralizing our neighbor and creating a strategy by which we not only become Atmanirbhar, in my vernacular language, self-sufficient. For the domestic industry, in exports, we have no dependency, but in domestic, we do have, because Chinese have been dumping their material on the Indian soil at less than the variable cost of India. Now, all of that is going to be a thing of the past. With production-linked incentives, we will become, like formulations, the largest in the world, giving a run for the money to the competitors, as I said earlier. Very importantly, as both excellencies said very comprehensively, that regulatory convergence for optimum utilization of resources and to fast-track the tools. My humble submission, lastly, but very importantly, is that my colleagues, my counterparts from the 2 nations should reach out to their heads of states and ministers of health and of course, we will do our part in terms of your ambassadors in our to make sure that we harmonize the whole world in one string. And 90% of the cost and time of regulatory landscape will go down. These words, I'll stop here and thank you very, very much for the patience and the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the detailed deliberation on Indian pharma industries. Without further ado, I would call upon Dr. Geeta Krishnan to give a brief presentation on the Indian Ayurvedic system of medicine.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome,
His Excellency Mr. Sanjeev Ranjan of India to Colombia, His Excellency Manpreet Vora of India to Mexico, respected Dr. Dinesh Dua, Chairman Pharmexcil, other dignitaries and everyone else in this webinar. It's to my honor that I have been invited to introduce some of the details regarding the Indian knowledge system of health, Ayurveda, to this august audience. The broad objectives of Ayurveda or its health interventions are maintenance and promotion of health and well-being of the healthy and treating the sick. These two objectives are not exclusive to each other, but overlaps frequently in practice. Ayurvedic interventions for maintenance and promotion of health and well-being encompasses a broad spectrum of health covering environmental, social, personal, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. It focuses on building a healthy society around responsible individuals who actively undertake health maintaining and promoting actions through appropriate utilization of Ayurveda knowledge. Ayurveda recognizes that the healthy individual is the single most important building block to a healthy society. The concept of health is therefore inseparably linked to the concept of healthy individual. Health, according to Ayurveda, is a constant of optimal physical, functional, responsive, mental, and spiritual well-being maintained by a resilient person who, while interacting continually with the environment, society, and other living beings, carries on with the activities of daily life. Thus, the robustness of health of a person is assessed as the individualized and constant range of resilience which allows them to maintain their functional, physical, responsive, mental, and spiritual well-being. According to Ayurveda, the ability to remain healthy does not revolve only around a drug or a vaccine. It is a more multifaceted and individual and community and is based on individual and community empowerment with knowledge and necessary materials and methods. I would request Lakshmi to give me an opportunity to show my PowerPoint presentation. Is it possible? Is it possible?
Yes, sir. Host is enabling the PowerPoint.
Okay, right. Is it enabled? Yeah, I can see this. Yeah, thank you. Am I visible? My presentation is visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I'll go to the first slide because somehow it's stuck here. I'm sorry, this is not what I wanted to share. Okay, here we are. So, we had been given a very good introduction by both the excellencies regarding the possibilities of the pharmaceutical sector in their respective countries, as well as Dr. Dinesh Dua has given us an excellent picture of what is happening across the globe. But regarding Ayurveda, Colombia has a regulatory framework that covers Ayurveda practice by healthcare professionals, includes traditional medicine of services in the health system, and has a provision for traditional medicine products, which includes homeopathic medicine and phytotherapeutic products. Most of the Ayurvedic products are phytotherapeutic products to be registered and sold in Colombia. In Mexico, there is a national law on traditional and complementary medicine, which includes Ayurveda. The national policy on traditional medicine is integrated into the national health program, which is very good because it allows you to get and access the government system, and herbal medicines are regulated as health products alongside conventional pharmaceuticals, allopathic medicines, and homeopathic medicines. That means there's a very good regulatory prospectus there. How do I go to the next slide? Okay. So what will govern us when we get into the global community or to get accepted is basically evidence, policy changes in those countries, and implementation in the right manner. And I would talk about evidence based on some experiences that I have on an integrative manner, because integrative flexibility is extremely important, because like Ayurveda is not accepted as such as a traditional system. in many countries. So if you have an integrated flexibility, it allows you to merge with the other systems available and make Ayurvedic services available in those countries. So Colombia and Mexico are excellent examples for that. Like we all know that the COVID pandemic is a potent disruptor of whatever we have seen as healthcare in the current world. But we currently know that there is a definite change in the community's health-seeking behavior, and it is more and it requires a lot of focus on policy decisions. And people are looking at economically viable, practical, and easily implementable, highly acceptable, and ensuring quality and sustainable growth kind of an intervention which can get into any of the community across the globe. So this is what even the UN organizations like WHO are looking for. I would like to give you an example of what has happened, or this is a peek into one of the studies which had happened regarding COVID in a hospital, in a big hospital in New Delhi, which has happened in collaboration between Council for Ayurveda Research and Central Council for Ayurveda Research. So you can see there are 30 patients who started in the beginning on each group, and from the 4th day onwards, there is a definite number of patients getting reduced in the Ayurveda group, which is the blue line. And of course, the number of patients came down to 3 in each group by 11th day. But still, you can see by 12th day, it became 0, and by 17th day, it became 0 for the control group. I'm not saying that this is a major observation, but I am saying that this is a observation which needs attention and more serious studies. And that is what is happening right now. There is a large number of studies which is happening right now across the country. Especially, we are talking about one single study, this Guruji and Pipali. This was the medicine which was given in the earlier study, earlier graph which I had shown to you. And this particular group of drug is found to be extremely effective in reducing the number of days which the patients are positive, even to an average of something around 6 to 7 days, like from the day when they are found to be positive, which is much in advance to other cases where patients turn out to be negative after about 10 or 11 or 12 days. So that's something very interesting. So this is not something for the first time we have observed. We have found the similar kind of activity and effectiveness of Ayurvedic medicines in other viral disorders. One of them is dengue hemorrhagic fever, which was done in the same hospital earlier, and we had worked on about 82 patients who were really sick and who got admitted into the hospital, and we started giving them Ayurvedic medicine, and not a single patient went into like severely critical situation, even though many of them developed thrombocytopenia, which is a mild side effect of dengue in this modern day, which was also managed with Ayurvedic medicine. Then there are other examples. This is the third example which I would like to show, that there was a study which we did with normal physiotherapy and Ayurveda added physiotherapy to stroke patients. You can see this orange line. This orange one is where the Ayurvedic patients were, and the blue one is where the patients with only physiotherapy was there. The severity of their score in the beginning of the study or in admission was something like you can see the severity of the score was much more in those patients who were in the Ayurveda group, whereas at the end of the day, at the end of the treatment at 90 days, you can see a definite result in the benefit of the patients have accrued. So there are several things which we have identified during the study. The fourth one I would like to show you is one of the pain management possibilities using Ayurveda. I'm mentioning all this because these are all integratable into the traditional modern system of medicine. This is a robotic surgery where you have a robotic arm and and a probe which goes into the body through these areas. These are the probe, these are the areas through which the probe goes in, or the hand of the robot goes into the thorax and does all the work which you can see here. So when we do this, many a time patients develop severe kind of a pain post-surgery, and this is a pain which develops out of neurons, which is a nervine pain. So this cannot be managed with normal medicines. And my colleague who was working right across me came across and asked me whether I could do something regarding this. And we started working together, and we found that simple Ayurvedic therapies, you can see this kind of therapies, and these are all external therapies which you have done, and over a period of 7 to 8 to 9 days, we were able to bring down the patients who were suffering from on a 0 to 10 score of at the maximum of 10 to 9. They came down to 0 or 1 within this short period of time, and the therapies were simple and very easily doable and replicable at home. And this is something which we can sell as a product or a service across the globe, this is way in which we can integrate into other systems. This is another group of patients who had undergone treatment for head and neck cancer. Like after getting radiation therapy for head and neck cancer, their muscles get really taut, and it doesn't work, or their vocal cords doesn't work, they cannot swallow well. But this is a simple therapy which we do with external application, and you can see here how effectively these patients have improved. In this graph, you can see that very clearly, and the patients really benefited. And this treatment was done at home. We just did once the treatment at the hospital. We showed the patient relative how to do it and send them home. And after 3 months, when the patient comes, they have excellent results for the treatment. I'm sorry, I'm stuck here. Can you?
Geeta, you press on the slide and then it'll start moving forwards. Don't worry.
Is it just okay? Right. Sorry, sir. I will just redo that because it goes somewhere. Yeah. Am I back? Yeah. Okay.
It's not going forwards?
No, it's not going forward.
So it doesn't matter. Have you shared it?
So what I wanted to say was there are a few other slides which would be interesting for you to see. Let me see whether I can move out of the slide sharing option and stop sharing. Okay. Okay, and then go.
Geeta Krishnanji, what we will do, we will share the slide from here.
Oh, that will be great. Please. Yeah.
That's always a fallback, Geeta.
Yeah. Yeah. Murli and Lakshmi were quite getting the presentation. Yeah.
Murli, go ahead, please.
Yeah, please. So we can go to the next slide, Murli. Yeah. Okay. This is a very interesting phenomena. Usually we attribute Ayurvedic treatments to like knee joint pain and or a cough or a cold. Here you see a patient who had a cardiac insufficiency because he had a cardiac problem, which was a cardiac arrest. And then after that, we did a computer tomography, and we found that there are 2 areas of less blood supply to his left side of the heart, and you can see that as these dark spots on the left hand side of the CT image. And then we gave him Ayurvedic treatment, and you can find that after about 6 months of period, like the second image was actually 2 years later, but we got the result, and the patient got the benefit, clinical benefit after 6 months. So if you can see this patient, the patient's there was a definite benefit, there was a definite improvement for this patient in his vascularity of the heart. This is purely Ayurvedic treatment. We have also done some treatment using like a therapeutic procedure called as panchakarma in reduction of lipid profile of a patient. Like about lipids, when the triglyceride levels and the HDL and LDL levels of all the cholesterol levels are high, you usually take statins. So here you can see a comparison of statins and a 15 days of panchakarma. What's the kind of result that we are having? There was an increase in triglyceride level, but if you look at the LDL and HDL level, it has considerably come down, whereas the total cholesterol has also come down in 15 days period, and triglyceride level came down a little bit later. Can we go to the next slide, please, Murli? Yeah, this is another one. This is, I think, is a 7th of the example which I wanted to show you. So these were patients we had been treating for sleep, insomnia, and not sleep apnea, but definitely insomnia. And these patients were sent to, we worked together with the respiratory medicine team, and we found that if we give Ayurvedic treatment and medicine, including yoga, to these patients, we will be able to keep 73% of them out of need for medication. And even after a period of 3 months, still then, even after 3 months, 45% of them did not require medication. That's a really good benefit, if you can keep somebody with just 7 days of treatment out of medication or requirement of medication, 73% of them out of requirement of medication, and even after 3 months, it continues for 45% of the people. Any clinician would tell you that it is an excellent intervention. So that is something which we have, and sleep is a major thing, which is a major focus across the globe in healthcare programs. Next slide, please. This is another area where we did simple therapies of external application on osteoarthritis knee. You can see that the requirement of analgesics coming down considerably by the 20th and the 30th week, because this is a long-term therapy. We are talking about old age people who have early osteoarthritic symptoms. We have pain in the knee joint. They cannot walk. They have severe degenerative or seemingly degenerative conditions there. Then we give this external therapy, which the patient can do on herself or himself at home. Takes only 15 minutes of an intervention. Very, very simple, with an Ayurvedic medication, and this is the kind of result that you can get. You can forget about the analgesic medications that you can give to a patient, the kind of complications and the kind of side effects it could have, or even there is no requirement of a medicine, for getting this kind of a result. It can be simple self-application of medications. And I just presented to you these eight areas because I think there is a huge synergy in requirement of these kind of therapies in different countries, especially in low and middle income countries like, let us say, in Colombia and Mexico, because these are clear evidences which we have from India, but it can be translatable into situations in Colombia and Mexico. And this would be a very good way of identifying places where the 2 countries or the 3 countries can work together. And India can offer a lot in primary healthcare, reducing the requirement of medicines and keeping the people healthy across the globe. That is something which we have as a need, because I think that there are enough number of people who will definitely become sick for the pharmaceutical industry to grow, but we can keep a lot of people out of requirement of medicine and keep them very, very healthy. Can I go to the next slide if there is any slide next? Yeah, okay. So just to complete what I have to say, in the context of reimagining Ayurveda as a global medicine, we need to envisage and establish a new infrastructure and ways of doing things. The focus should be on empowering the individual with knowledge necessary to keep them within the range of health as a dimension of existence. At the same time, giving them the responsibility of good habits to ensure health for the society. Such a model of health shall be a most welcome change, acceptable and acceptable to everyone across the globe. It shall be a model which is sans borders, and it shall be something which will be acceptable, utilizable, and affordable for everyone. A model that is practically be possible through Ayurveda. I think that both Mexico and Colombia will be able to utilize this beautiful and very effective modality of Ayurveda into their health system and utilize it for improving the overall health of its population. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It was a wonderful experience for me and wonderful time of learning for me during this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your detailed deliberation on the interventions of Ayurvedic system of medicines and various therapies. Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Christian, Director of Colombia India Chamber of Commerce, to take up the further session on Colombian market opportunities and regulatory. Over to you, Mr. Christian. Mr. Christian, we can't hear you.
Lakshmi, ask him to unmute, please.
He has unmuted.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me or not?
Lakshmi, is he there?
Yes, sir, he is there.
Oh, so maybe some sound issue. He's unmuted, but we can't hear him. So Lakshmi, ask Mr. Christian to re-log in, and you can move on to the next speaker.
Can you hear?
Can't hear.
Yep.
Christian, we can hear you, but your voice is very low.
Can you hear me now? No?
Ask Mr. Christian, could you please re-log in? I think that can improve matters.
Okay, 1 second. Now can you hear me?
A little bit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry for these technical issues. Very happy to be part of this event today. I would like to welcome Miss Judith Mestre. She's the Director of Medicine and Biological Products, and Miss Claudia Nino, who is the Registration Coordinator. So I will leave the stage for them so we can continue with the program. Thank you so much. So Sonia and Claudia and Judith, please, you come on stage.
Okay.
Sonia is already right for the transmission.
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
You, but Judith is ready.
Cristian, ¿me escuchas?
Sí, Judith, dale. Te escuchamos.
Cristian, ¿me escuchas?
Sí, Judith, te escuchamos.
Mucho ruido de fondo.
Sonia, te escuchamos. Dale, empieza.
May I request Ms. Judith Mestre, Director of Medicines and Biological Products from INVIMA, to give a brief presentation. ¿Me escuchas? We can hear you, ma'am.
Morning, everybody.
Y buenas tardes, porque desde Colombia pues estamos en horas de la mañana, pero la mayoría del personal presente les deseamos las buenas tardes.
Good afternoon as well, because most of the attendees, but here in Colombia it's morning, but most of the attendees are here.
Mi nombre es Judith Mestre, directora de medicamentos y productos biológicos del INVIMA, Agencia Regulatoria de Colombia. Les agradecemos la invitación a este evento de cooperación.
So my name is Judith Mestre. I'm the Director of Medicine and Biological Products of INVIMA, the Colombian registration entity.
Para nosotros es muy importante participar en este tipo de eventos, sobre todo en esta pandemia, en donde no solo es importante la cooperación entre agencias regulatorias, sino que nos hemos dado cuenta de la importancia que requiere la cooperación entre agencia regulatoria, ministerios de salud, industria farmacéutica, academia, universidades.
So for us, it is very important to participate in these events, especially during a pandemic. Cooperation between regulation authorities is vital, but also between regulations authorities and the health ministry, the pharmaceutical industry, and academia.
Este tipo de cooperaciones realmente nos permiten abastecer al país, apoyar en este abastecimiento de medicamentos en estos momentos en donde cualquier situación de pandemia nos pueda producir un posible desabastecimiento, por ejemplo, desabastecimiento de materias primas, problemas con aeropuertos, y la idea es que la cooperación tanto de agencia regulatoria como de industria farmacéutica nos pueda permitir apoyar el abastecimiento de medicamentos.
So this type of cooperation allows us to support the distribution of drugs and prevent any possible shortage, be it of raw materials or be it airport issues. The cooperation between these regulatory entities can allow to ensure the distribution and lack of shortage.
Es importante para nosotros como agencia regulatoria, pues presentar y facilitar los accesos, de procedimientos, procesos, normas, en donde ustedes puedan participar, en donde ustedes puedan tener claridad para que con sus tecnologías y con sus productos puedan llegar a nuestro país de la manera más fácil.
So it is important for us as a regulation authority to allow access to you with your technology and your products to our country. And it's important for us to show you how to have that access.
Actualmente el INVIMA ha implementado procedimientos de priorización o de agilidad para que medicamentos, por ejemplo, que puedan ser utilizados para el COVID, sean evaluados de una manera muy rápida y muy ágil para que estos productos tengan autorizaciones y registros de manera más rápida, la podamos tener en el mercado muy fácilmente.
So currently, INVIMA has developed prioritization processes for COVID-related drugs to authorize and register them more quickly to allow access to the market in a quicker fashion.
Tenemos algunos ejemplos que actualmente se encuentran en proceso de revisión y de verdad les podemos asegurar y garantizar que INVIMA apoya este proceso de cooperación y en la medida en que podamos evaluar de manera muy rápida y obtener estos registros que sirven para el tratamiento del COVID de manera ágil, lo podemos hacer, lo vamos a hacer.
So some examples are currently under review, and I can guarantee you that INVIMA supports this cooperation process, and we are doing a quick review of COVID-related drugs.
También quería comentarles una experiencia que estamos viviendo, unas mesas de trabajo que venimos teniendo conjunto con el Ministerio de Salud, con las agremiaciones de la industria farmacéutica en el país, con asociaciones médicas, con asociaciones farmacéuticas, esto con el único objeto de que nosotros podamos evaluar de manera muy rápida los inconvenientes que podamos tener en las autorizaciones que damos para poder evitar el desabastecimiento de medicamentos en el país.
So currently we are working with support groups and support tables with the Ministry of Health, pharmaceutical unions, and pharmaceutical associations. All this to allow to solve any inconveniences in the authorizations that we give out and to prevent a shortage of drugs in the country.
Lo que quiero manifestarles es que además de todos estos procedimientos de priorizaciones y de agilidades, lo que buscan es, además de tener productos en el mercado, tener el mercado de medicamentos abastecidos en el país y no tener ningún tipo de inconveniente con las diferentes enfermedades que tengamos, es importante manifestarle que nuestros procesos, nuestros procedimientos y nuestra norma lo único que busca es que en el país se tengan medicamentos eficaces, seguros y de calidad.
What I want to manifest is that besides these prioritization processes, we want to keep a fully stocked drug market in the country. Our processes, our norms, and our legal procedures are to guarantee the safe drugs in the market and access to these drugs.
Por eso quiero dejarlos con Claudia Niño, ella es la coordinadora de registro sanitario, para que les presente cuáles son los procedimientos y normatividades que en el INVIMA se revisan para que nosotros podamos entregar las autorizaciones, ya sea de importaciones, exportaciones o otorgamiento de registros sanitarios. Les agradezco mucho la invitación. Los dejo con Claudia Niño. Ella les explicará los diferentes procesos que lleva el INVIMA para las autorizaciones de los medicamentos en el país.
So that is why I would like to give the floor to Claudia Niño, the coordinator of the sanitation process and sanitary normativity in INVIMA. Anything to do with these processes or import, export, and sanitary registration, she will explain the process. Thank you.
Gracias. Salud. Claudia.
I think Claudia is having a problem with the audio. Just 1 second, please. Lakshmi, can you check? Can you check if her audio is activated?
We are just trying her. Claudia, she activated, she has to speak. We have unmuted her.
¿Ya? Sí, dime, estoy acá.
Ms. Claudia Nino, can we have your talk or presentation, please?
Miss Claudia, can you start your video? Because we cannot hear your voice. Can you hear her?
Claudia, que si porfa puedes empezar con video, que tal vez así tengan audio.
Don't have a presentation with you?
No, sir, we haven't received the presentation.
All right. I think she's facing the same problem of not being able to move forward.
Hola. Miss Claudia is having some issues with her microphone.
Mr. Christian, can we proceed further? We can and share it with all the kids.
That's right. Lakshmi, till they get the whole thing going, you can move on.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. We'll proceed further on the program. Now I request Mr. Juan Esteban, Director of Pro Colombia in India, to give a presentation on market opportunities and market access in Colombia. Over to you, Mr. Juan.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, Mr. Juan.
Absolutely. I would like just maybe if you show that my presentation. So
please go
absolutely.
ahead.
So thank you very much, everybody. My name is Juan Sanchez. I am the director of the Colombian Promotional Agency for India and MENA region. I would like just to thank to Pharmexcil and the Cámara of Colombia, India for the invitation We are from ProColombia. We are just in charge of the promotion of business opportunities between Colombia and India. And I would like just to give a brief presentation about what are the opportunities we are just taking a look to Indian companies as well as for Colombian companies. So talking about the opportunities, why do we believe that Indians could see Colombia as a land of opportunities for businesses? And we are not just talking about Colombia. We are talking about the region, okay? I'm very sorry, but somebody has the microphone open? Yes. Okay, so the reason that we believe that Indian companies should just do businesses with the Colombian companies are this one. First, Colombia is the third largest population in Latin America after Mexico and Brazil. And that means that there is a local market for the company themselves. The second one is the 95% of the Colombian population is covered by the healthcare system, and this is a reality. Even I'm talking with the people of the attendees, yeah, we have some issues with the tariff, the prices, and everything. But the more important thing is that from 50 million people, we have the 95% of the Colombian covered by the health system. The third reason is Colombia has one of the largest public health expenditure in the region, and that allowed us just to face the COVID situation we believe, in a better way than other countries in the region. Actually, we are in this very moment just providing the funds, the necessary funds in order just to be prepared, in order just to provide and supply all the vaccines and all the treatment for the Colombian people, even with the Indian companies. In 2019, pharmaceutical product sales reached around $4.7 billion in Colombia. And Colombia has been selected as an export hub to take advantage of the current free trade agreement between Colombia and almost 16 countries in the world. This is a really important reason for us in order just to take a look to Colombia and the region, because from Colombia and countries like Mexico as well, we can just play a really important role for Indian companies that can just have maybe some small operations, second operation for manufacturing the products, and then just having the advantages of the free trade agreement just to put these products in Europe again, in the United States, and in the countries in the neighborhood. In 2018, more than 25% of the Colombian export in the pharmaceutical sector were carried out by multinational companies. And this is important as well. Why? Because we are just trying to promote exportation from Colombia, from the multinational companies to another countries. So this is the way that we are trying to import exporters. And it's really important for us to take into account the Indian company, because you are the most important players in the world of the pharmaceutical sector. So the drivers we are just dealing with are, there is an opportunity regarding to the national pharmaceutical security. We believe as government that we need to settle a really important strategy in order to ensure the national pharmaceutical security. And I do believe Indian companies can play a really good, important role in that. And the second is export platform. We need to import exporters. And the third is we would like, with the ProColombia and the Cámara Colombo India, with the help of Christian Salamanca, in order just to find the perfect partners for you. So just in order just to bring some information about the opportunities. Okay, so Colombia has the third largest population in Latin America. We believe that being the third country in the region is a really important opportunity, even in terms of local market, okay? Give me 1 second, please. Okay, Colombia has an average health coverage of 95% of the population. In 2019, we believe that the 22% of the population was covered by the contribution system. That means that the 22.7% of the population was helping and subsidizing the other 22%. From the yellow zone, they were just helping the blue zone. And this is an important point, because we are just trying just to be equal in the way that the way you pay a little bit more, the way that the low income population can access to the health system. Colombia is the third country in the region with the highest public healthcare expenditure. And you can take a look in here to the graphics. Brazil, for example, was just spending the 32%, of the healthcare expenditure in Latin America. Mexico, the 52%. This is really important. But Colombia was the 63% before Peru and before Argentina. I can share with you this presentation after Dr. Dinesh, okay? I would like just to go through the presentation. Colombia has the second highest proportion of expenditure of generic medicine over patented medicines in the region. And this is important in order just to ensure that maybe there are open opportunities for Indian generic products, but even for biological products that you are just working in this very moment. I was just visiting some pharmaceutical laboratories here in India. I'm based here in Delhi. And I was really surprised that you are producing and generating the products that are going to be sold in 20 to 30 years in advance. Colombia is becoming an important player in the clinical research. This is kind of welcoming to the Indian laboratories because we need manufacturing, but we are just looking in order to ensure the national pharmaceutical security to have more research and development here. And with the Minister of Health of Colombia, we would like maybe just to create some really good tools, even taking advantage of the free trade zones structure that we have, just in order to provide to the Indian companies enough tools and options in order just to create some really good research and development centers in Colombia for the region. Biotechnological medicines make up 35% of Colombia's pharmaceutical market. Why? Because we know, talking with CIPLA, talking with Genpla, talking with the other companies like Biocom, that Colombia is a really good field in order just to prove new medicines, in order just to increase the commercial expansion of Indian advanced technological companies in the pharma sector, in order just to provide solution for cancer and oncology, respiratory disease, and even for malaria and other tropical disease. The new dynamic of global trade opens the opportunity for Colombia to be the regional supplier with Indian companies on it. So 20% of pharmaceutical produced in Colombia are exported. You can see here that you can export from Colombia, and we are exporting from Colombia medicine for human use, vitamins, antibiotics, and actually medicine regarding to veterinary processes and treatments. They are increasing the exportation from Colombia even to MENA region. What are the potential markets that we are exploring? And this is one of the challenges we are just trying to cover, is that how can we help multinational companies from the Colombian promotional agency, help the multinational in order just to export more from our country. And we are identifying the opportunities for these kind of companies. And these opportunities are just in this moment on these countries: Panama, USA, Costa Rica, Canada, and Ecuador. And maybe after you can just hear about CIPLA with Brian, that Central America is becoming one of the largest markets for Colombian exportation as well. Colombia is ready to address the relocation challenge, offering preferential access to 97% of the countries of the region. And you can see that we have in this moment 16 different trade agreements that focus in products like medicines, drugs, and treatments. So there is an invitation, and I know that Mexico is here, but we are trying to invite Indian companies to settle operation in Colombia in order just to produce here in Colombia and do a kind of nearshoring strategy in order just to cover the consumption centers like the United States and some countries in Latin America. Additionally, Colombia is a member of the Pacific Alliance. So maybe we can just study with you in order just to have a kind of case of a study just to see if you need just to produce here in Colombia or even in Mexico or even in Peru or Chile, just in order just to try a product and then to export without tariffs to other countries, depending on the free trade agreement they have. So thanks to the above and the comments we have, the country has the privileged access to the continent's largest markets. And this is the only thing we want just to, one of the things we want just to promote today, that if you have a kind of new manufacturing plant or something like that, you can access from Colombia with really preference tariff to countries like the United States, Canada, Central America, and the Pacific Alliance countries as well. There are 14 free trade zones in Colombia, and we have around 8 clusters for health sector. The important thing in here is Colombia has the largest free trade zones structure in the region. And now you can just produce in a free trade zones with really good benefits on tariff and taxes. And then you can export from this free trade zone, and you can import the ingredients and the equipment with really exception on taxes. Finally, Colombia is one of the best investment destinations. We have just to be sure that we are a region and we have to promote the region to Indian companies. And we are trying just to promote these 3 main goals. The first one, clinical research centers. The second one, research center for the development of veterinary pharmaceutical products. We want just to focus on that. And logistics and production centers. I would like just to address a fourth one, is new products, Ayurveda products, yeah, and generic products. I do believe that the conference that I was just hearing before talking about Ayurveda, we believe that in Colombia there is a really big potential in order just to become a hub for the exportation of Ayurveda products from Colombia to another countries. What are the challenges? The last slide, on which we are just working permanently. And this is just regarding to the investigation that it was held by the Externado de Colombia University. Ms. Soraya Caro, who is just dealing with this investigation, and we are just going to release this joint study with ProColombia and the University of Externado about the pharmaceutical sector, another one. We have some challenges that we identified through some coming from Indian companies. The first one is the political risk, security and microeconomic environment. The second one is the cultural and geographical distance. Yeah, we have just to close the gap between the Indian culture and the Colombian culture in order just to produce more businesses. The third, the easy of doing businesses. We are working on that. I believe that the President Duque wants just to reduce the processes and reduce the operational processes. The fourth, the perfect partner identification, the one that we are just working with Mr. Christian Salamanca and the Cámara as well. The gap between the commercial expansion and the settlement of a manufacturing operation, and you can include here research and development as well, because we know you have just to do businesses, you have to taste the market, but after tasting the market, we can help you in order just to increase the businesses here in the local market, and even with exportation opportunities. The export promotion strategy for Indian companies established in our country. And finally, the need to educate the Colombian consumer about generic options and Ayurveda products. So this is the last thing I want just to say. Please, if you want just to explore more business between Colombia and India, you can ask to Mr. Christian Salamanca, you can ask us, and we have a team in Colombia that can help us. It can help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. John. That was a wonderful presentation about investment opportunities in Colombia. And we really appreciate the challenges and the policy measures of the government in addressing all those challenges. Now, I call upon Mr. Brian, the country head for CIPLA. Mr. Brian, you can share your experience in Colombian pharma market.
Thank you very much, Lakshmi. Well, first of all, Shubh Ratri, which I think means good night in Hindi. To everybody. I'm pretty sure it's pretty much late over there. So thank you very much to actually be on this webinar. And a big thank you to the honorable ambassadors right now who are also with us. Really important one, actually a new one here in Colombia. and the one from Mexico. I present myself. I'm Brian Alvarez. I'm actually working for CIPLA for the north part of Latin America. So basically from Colombia, Central America, and Mexico. Sales to ask me to tell them about a little bit about our experience here in Colombia as CIPLA. So basically, look, Juan Esteban actually made an amazing presentation. Took exactly everything that Colombia actually engloves, and pretty much did my job. So I'm just going to talk really fast to say what we actually took advantage of, all what Colombia actually gave us as an opportunity. CIPLA has more than 20 years here in Colombia, right? So we started again as a B2B kind of business on respiratory kind of lines. And right now we are on DTM here in Colombia. We have different kind of experience challenges that we actually had. The good thing is most of them are actually being solved. First of all, in Vima, we were able to actually get more than 120 products portfolio here in Colombia. We were being able to actually be working with them, have fast registration, as also some registration actually take time. Depends on which molecules they are. Also, we were able to get both markets. We're actually attacking both markets, institutional and market, the private markets from here from Colombia. So basically, you need to be able to focus and see which molecule actually gets in which market and be able to attack it accordingly, since Colombia has a pretty particular kind of health system, right? So like we have said before, 95% actually have coverage with the objective to have 100% of the population. So obviously the institutional market is actually much bigger in Colombia than the private one, and it's always shrinking every year. In this case also, Colombia gives us a big opportunity on export and having it as a hub. CIPLA, in this case, we have chosen Bogota as our place for Latin America. In matter of fact, I am in Bogota in this moment. And to the other markets. So basically, we have small and not really or not highly controlled markets, just like Central America, where also we take advantage that INVIMA is a Cat 4 entity of registrations, which actually allows you to have homologations in Central America. So let's say Guatemala, El Salvador, Dominican Republic, you can actually get a registration from Colombia to there and get an homologation registrations in 2-3 months, which is an advantage that we have from Colombia. From here, you can actually get a free zone place, get the product from here, as long as you have the same packagings. You can actually export from the other countries and be able to be present in more tenders or more direct purchase from different institutions in the markets. Right now, we are also opening in Mexico, which is a huge opportunity that's actually coming up in Mexico, but my colleagues will actually be talking about it. And getting back here to Colombia, we are also able to get some facilitation from INVIMA to get better or faster approvals. For example, INVIMA gets you the homologations of the countries, which are the highly regulated countries, to be able to not needing an INVIMA visit. For example, if our plant is actually approved by the US FDA, you can actually have homologations and be able to avoid having an INVIMA visit, which actually we talked earlier in the presentations. And there's also a fast track going on right now on biological, which we are in talks and we are actually preparing to get in on the biologicals. So basically, Colombia has a lot of opportunities and a lot of extra going on in the market, also for the other markets that we actually are taking care of. And in this case, again, 70% of the market is purely institutional. One of the challenges that we have is really sorry, I have working from home. So basically, you have different kind of pricing and the part of institutional. That's why the portfolio needs to be really well chosen, and the portfolio needs to be really strategic to be able to get and get in the better places where you can actually be, right? So basically, some products are going to be really erosionated, and you will be surprised when you get to the country about how the prices are actually being managed institutionally here in Colombia. But some other products, you're going to have a really big advantage, and then you're going to be able to get the business that you actually need and be able to focus on it. So that's one of the cons that needs, I mean, not everything is perfect, but one of the cons, but more pros of actually working in Colombia. So again, we started from 2000 B2B market, founded the partners, and basically moving on to DTM, being private in the market, being institutional in the market, directly into the market, and moving on in the market to be actually get and allow growth. So basically, it's a really bullet points, really fast, and I think that will actually resume a lot about the experience that we have here in Colombia, how Cipla was able to actually grow in the market and be able to focus in LATAM, taking this country as a base to be able to grow in the different kind of directions in Latin America. So basically, Lakshmi, again, really fast, respecting the 5 minutes that I've been given. And hopefully any question that anybody has, I'll be willing to actually answer it.
Thank you, Brent. So we'll take the question and answers during the Q&A session after the presentations from Mexico. And we appreciate your detailed experience in Colombia. Now may I request Ms. Amparo to take the further session on the Mexican market and the regulatory procedures. Over to you, Ms. Amparo.
Thank you, Lakshmi. I would like to welcome Mr. Inderpal Singh, President of IMBC, for some welcoming words.
Hi, good morning, everybody. His Excellency, Mr. Manpreet Bora, Ambassador of India to Mexico. His Excellency, Mr. Sanjeev Ranjan, Ambassador of India to Colombia. Pharmexcil, Dr. Dinesh Dua. Mr. Javier Haliet, Official of Mexico, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Gurulangam Swami, Vice President of IMBC, members of Chamber. Indian pharmaceutical companies representatives, dear friends. India-Mexico Chamber welcomes everyone to such an important event of pharmaceutical sector. I would like to begin by thanking Pharmexcil for bringing the two important countries in the Pacific Alliance, Mexico and Colombia, to participate in this event. IMBC especially thank our dear ambassador, His Excellency, Mr. Manpreet Bora, and the Mexican government official present today for coming together, collaborating to impulse the trade and cooperation between the two countries. India-Mexico economy relationship have evolved significantly over the past decade, with new investments and value-added businesses that supplement the large trade in commodities. India today trades with India has reached a milestone of $10 billion in 2019, largely comprised of oil, mineral, agriculture products, and pharmaceutical sector, making Mexico the most important commercial partner of India in the region of Latin America, and India the 9th most important global trade partner for Mexico. Foreign investments is one of the main steps to enter the global market in the recent times. India has taken that necessary step to make itself present in Mexico. The accumulated investment of India in Mexico is estimated at $3 billion through the company's established in Mexican territory. Leading companies in pharmaceutical sector, as we are in the pharmaceutical platform today, such as Accord Pharma, Hetero Laboratories, Glenmark, Lupin Green, Dr. Reddy, to name few. India, as a leading producer of cost-efficient and quality-control generic drug, supplies around 20% of the global pharmaceutical demand in terms of volumes. In fact, India, the healthcare and pharmaceutical sector has been one of the fastest growing in the world and has been expected to grow even more, as mentioned by Dr. Dinesh Dua in the earlier presentation. Indian pharmaceutical industry is an asset not only to India, but to other countries as well, as it is known as the pharmacy of the world lately. The industry is continuing to grow. The ability to ensure uninterrupted supply of quality drugs and continue research in addition to identifying mechanism to upscale their manufacturing capacity and innovation. The government of India has been keen to support the industry through various policies that has been implementing. IMDC and its pharmaceutical subcommittee consider it relevant to ensure innovation drugs have access to the Mexican market. It is our #1 priority to join forces with the Mexican government with the objective of fostering the vision of our president, Mr. Manuel Lopez Obrador, to provide top quality medicines at reasonable price for the Mexican citizens. As mentioned by our ambassador, Mexico can take advantage in 2 ways, with the pharmaceutical sector of India providing the medicine directly to the hospitals and the government institutions at a very low cost, and that budgeting can go long ways in helping to contribute in the health sector of the Mexican economy. At the same time, I would like to address the importance of communication and cooperation with the Mexican government and its regulatory authority, COFEPRIS. This with the objective of resolving and implementing mechanism that will allow the recognition of Indian certification approval of USFDA EC recognized plants in India. It is important to begin developing fast-track process to speed up the process of resolving the approval to ensure the ability to get the products to the country. Finally, I wish to reiterate IMBC unconditional support in bridging between the gap between the regulatory authorities and the pharmaceutical sector of India. And I hope that we can help bring more business and more affordable medicines to the Mexican government and the Mexican market in Mexico. Thank you very much for having us, for organizing this excellent seminar, and definitely some really good has to come out of this. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Now I would like to invite Ms. Consuelo Albarran to discuss a bit more about the regulatory framework in Mexico. Ms. Lakshmi, can you guys give me access to upload her PowerPoint?
Yes.
Hello. Hello, can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Before we start with the presentation, I would like to thank everyone, especially His Excellencies, ambassadors of India in Mexico and Colombia, and the Indian Chamber of Commerce Mexico-India Chamber of Commerce for the invitation. I am very glad to have the chance to explain a little about the regulatory process here in Mexico. As some of you have heard, we have a new president. He's been here not 2 years, and things are changing in Mexico. In 2010, you could not register a medication in Mexico if you didn't have a plant. Since then, it has changed. You don't need to have a plant in Mexico to register medications or other products as medical devices. So that's an advantage in Mexico for Indian companies to commercialize their products. I am the director of a third party authorized by COFEPRIS since 8 years ago, and it's not something that all countries have. I think it's only Mexico that has this. This was done to improve and fast track marketing access to drugs and to medical devices. So we have been working with Indian companies for a long time now. Mostly all of the Indian companies established in Mexico we have worked with, and I will be glad to share a little of what it's done in Mexico in regulatory aspects. I especially focused on supplements because it's the easiest way to get into Mexican market at the beginning, maybe, because it doesn't need too many requirements. So thank you very much for the invitation, and I hope you get something out of this presentation. Can you, Amparo? Next one, Amparo. Okay. No, the one before. Thanks. So what is COFEPRIS? COFEPRIS is the FDA, or the agency that regulates all the medications and medical devices here in Mexico. And we are going to focus on the one that has Health Authorization Commissioner that issues the registrations, the marketing access, the import, export of all drugs, publicity permits, establishment licenses, biotechnological, medical devices, health services, food, tobacco, pesticides. So as you see, it's a huge government commission. The next one, please. So this is how it's divided, the federal commissioner, and then it goes the general coordination, and it has 5 different aspects. The one that we'll be centering, because it's the one that regulates the medications and the marketing registration, is the one that's called Health Authorization, or CAS. Next one. Amparo?
I think it's taking a while to upload.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't matter. Well, I don't have to tell you what a medication is. This is just a quick reminder. And classifications, I'm going to center in classifications of medications by nature. There are allopathic, herbal, and other. So I just put the significance of allopathic and herbal, and others are vitamin, biotechnological, biological, homeopathic, but we're going to center and to focus on allopathic and herbals. Their characteristics is that they are identified for their pharmacological activity, and they need registration. Both of them need registration. Next one.
It won't let me move it forward.
Oh.
Click on the slide, Emperor. Just click on this. There you go.
Oh, there you are. So this is homeopathic and herbal. Homeopathic, it's seen as a medicine? No. Okay. And herbal, it's considered a medicine or a remedy. They need marketing authorization or a health permit that are remedies. And the manufacturing would be international or domestic. As I was telling you, here in Mexico, you don't need a plant to register. You just need an establishment. Next. Okay, so I'm gonna focus on herbal and supplements because I think they are the easiest, but we have all the knowledge on medications, biotechnological and medical devices. So if later on you want to ask questions, I can answer them for you. So if you want a health registration or health authorization for herbal medicines, you will need to comply with these 4 modules. Basically, they are the same as medications, not because it's a herbal medicine, it's gonna be different, like legal information, characteristics of the medicine, like raw materials, active ingredients, the formula, fabrication process, etc. And also scientific information or clinical studies. Next one. So I'm focusing on supplements due to the fact that I think you are interested in the Ayurveda, and some of them can be considered supplements. Here in Mexico, the regulation for supplements is not as tight, not as rigid as the one for medication. So first of all, you know that supplements, its only function is to increase, complement, or supplement any of the components that we acquired through diet. They should not be intended to treat, cure, prevent, alleviate symptoms of any disease. They do not serve to lose weight or as aphrodisiacs, and it should be taken into account that the products aimed at treating or curing a disease or illness are medicines or remedies which must be prescribed by a health professional and need a marketing authorization by COFEPRIS. But supplements do not need that. Next. So this is a small slide just to let you know what ingredients are allowed in a supplement. You can put carbohydrates, proteins, fatty metabolites, plants, algae, and vitamins and minerals, but the allowed additives are included in an agreement that determines that they are not toxic. So first, next one. So what you need to do is first ask COFEPRIS through a consultation if your product could be considered a supplement. With a letter, just integrating the formula and asking if your formula and your claims be considered a supplement. With that, you can get an importation permit. The food supplement will not, the ingredients that should not contain are those, like hormones, substances with pharmacological action, minerals or that are toxic, etc. So it should be taken into account that botanical species contemplated in the list of plants of known toxicity of the herbal pharmacopoeia of the United States or Mexico are not allowed in the formulation of food supplements. So we have to consult first if one of the substances that or ingredients that your product has are allowed or not. So the formalities you need is product classification, as I was telling you, query as a food supplement to COFEPRIS. It's a free procedure. You just write a letter and they will classify it or not. No? The query is made by product and COFEPRIS says they will have a maximum response in 90 days. All food supplements prior to the advertising permit process must have a positive response to the classification. Either COFEPRIS gives you the classification as supplement or it doesn't. And then you need a notice of establishment or operation. That's I was telling you. You just need a warehouse that it has a license so that you can import the food supplements, and they do not require a health registration. If your food supplement complies with the requirement, then they will give you an import permit. The next one, please. Here is the importation, the import, the process to import. There are several types of imports. The first is what we need, prior health permit to import products. The requirements are detailed in an agreement that we can consult. And any product that enters the country for the first time is subject to sampling and released by the authority. And in the following imports, the sampling is carried out randomly. So you don't need to have here an established plant, or you just need an address and a legal representative and a warehouse that has been approved by COFEPRIS. There are lots of them. Next. Here is one of the things that gives us a little trouble. That's the advertisement. Many companies want to put in their advertisement, claims that do not comply with the COFEPRIS regulations. You cannot describe them as a diet product that serve to modify the proportions of the body. You cannot describe them as having therapeutic action, or that they cure or prevent or alleviate or treat a disease. You can only claim that it is supplementing something missing from the diet. Okay? So before thinking about bringing a product to Mexico, you have to think very well your strategy, because many companies want to advertise on that way, and unfortunately, COFEPRIS will not let them do that. So this is a small summary. COFEPRIS through CAS, the ones that are that need marketing access, marketing authorization, are herbology and allopathic medicines, and COFEPRIS decides which category fits each product according to their action. And the ones that do not need registration as food supplements, you need to consult with COFEPRIS, have an import permit, comply with advertising, and have a notification of establishment of operation. And to end this is the last slide. To end this, I just want to tell you that I have been very close to the Chamber of Commerce of India and Mexico, and I have been watching how they have approached the Mexican government with a lot of success, much more success than some transnational big companies. I respect very much Indian companies because they do what they do it very well. They have quality, they have their products have efficacy, and we need your products here in Mexico. We need to have them available, especially now due to the pandemic. So that's all for me for now. And whatever questions you have, feel free to contact me. It's in the presentation. There's my data, and feel free to call me. Thank you very much.
Ms. Consuelo. Now, I would like to move on to discuss market opportunities and market access. I would like to invite Mr. Javier Gileta from Mexico Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Welcome, Mr. Javier.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Is it okay?
Yes.
Well,
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be this morning, well, at least this morning here in Mexico and Colombia, in this webinar. I'd like to thank, of course, both His Excellencies, Ambassador of India and Colombia, Mr. Rajan, and Ambassador of India and Mexico, Mr. Vora. As well, also, I'd like to especially thank the chairman of Pharmexcil, Dr. Dinesh Dua, because of this invitation. Of course, the opportunity that's here. I'm sorry if I don't go directly into welcoming everyone, but I'd just like to present and perhaps focus on some specific questions. Anyway, in particular, India has a very special place in my heart. I've worked very closely with India in the past. I must say that my mentor is Indian. His name is Sam Pitroda. I worked with him for about 10 years. He's someone I deeply admire. And in these 10 years in my life, I've been very close to many Gandhian ideals, and I've had the opportunity to go to the Gandhi ashram and try to understand the different views and also the importance of keeping close to your roots and keeping close to your beliefs. And in that sense, I think that both us Latin Americans and Indians share these very deep relationships with our families, and in order to make these everlasting relationships, these also serve us well in our business opportunities. Being that said, I'd just like to say that in terms of Mexico's strategy, and at the same time, I should introduce myself. I pretty much head the newly formed investment promotion agency, which is Global Economic Drive. The key difference that we have with other agencies in the region is that we've specialized exclusively on focusing outwardly. Mexico in the past, the investment promotion agency both worked inwards and outwards, meaning they looked at connecting directly with different companies, and states. But what we do now is we work directly with only outwardsly or internationally. Within the country, we've divided all of those tasks with the Ministry of the Economy, and the Ministry of the Economy in turn has generated different connections there. So the reason why I'm speaking to you right now has to do with our global view. And what are we doing with Asia? Both in Asia, there are two giants there. There's India and there's China. Both of you have different capacities and different views. I must say that India is the largest world democracy. And this is something that is very important because of the shared values we also have. And in that sense, from Mexico and from the new investment promotion agency, we believe a lot in regional integration. Our Minister Ebrard, and in particular my Vice Minister, Minister Delgado, has really pushed forth on this vision, or what are we to do for the region? What is Mexico looking after? Because one must remember that we are the most complex and robust economy in the region. We do all the way from primary, secondary, or you could say extraction industry, but also at the same time manufacturing, and lastly, complex services industry and complex, of course, manufacturing. Yet, unfortunately, in the past, we have not been focused on what is our key role in the region. And this is directly related to the pharma industry. So Mexico, and now delving into details or into our matter at hand here, is I'm going to speak about three things. So just very quickly, our reform in terms of investment promotion, how is it for the pharma industry? Then the pharma strategy of the government, which is very interesting. And lastly, I'll speak very succinctly or very shortly about COFEPRIS, or which, because we've already had a presentation in terms of the sanitary authority. But pretty much what we're trying to do here is Mexico is a platform. And of course, Colombia can also provide a different platform in terms of market access. We have 13 treaties and access over 46 markets. Our key difference has to do with USMCA and the regional integration we have in the United States. And you have a very close relationship with America, and at the same time, you provide a lot of components for the pharma industry there at a global scale. So Mexico has the capacity on not only, and has the capacity, but as well as the interest on generating a platform so that you have access to market, but also at the same time, the possibility of reaching out to different suppliers. This is something different, and this is something that has changed. In the past, we pretty much were looking for an intermediation process where you would sell our products here, and from here we would export outwards. What we're now focusing on, and beyond the fiscal incentives or our geographic position, we have clarity in terms of human resources that are available, and at the same time, what the Mexican government provides as our new pharma strategy. I don't know if you followed the news, but Mexico has reformed the way it's actually buying all its pharmaceutical, all its medications for the health sector. We're talking that with the work of the United Nations, we're focusing on getting. It's a very large purchase. Just so you have an idea, Mexico every year. I'll do it the other way around. So the World Health Organization, what they do in a year of purchases for all the Latin American region is what Mexico's government and the different health institutions buy in a week. So this is something very important to know. Mexico's scale in terms of medication buying, indeed, and I'd like to compliment ProColombia's presentation. It is very clear we do not have the best expenditure per capita, but the expenditure that we have is huge, is very big. So what we're doing with the United Nations is that we're focusing on several blocks or several parts of a sale. This sale is a $20 billion sale that we will be conducting in the next year. It's for the next 4 years of Mexican medication products. And evidently what we're looking for is we're looking for people to partner with, and we're looking for companies to come and to benefit from this $20 billion, you could say, business proposition. This is something that in the past was not done. It was focused more on how do we get to buy everything from one source, and we pretty much minimize cost. So we're sacrificing a bit of cost minimization in terms of trying to find someone that's willing to establish themselves here and have the value added onto it. But that is one key aspect that I'd like to point out if there is any Indian or even Colombian company trying to look at the possibility of establishing themselves here. The second thing that I'd like to look upon is our sanitary regulation authority. It's as well as Colombia's, it's a class 4 according to the World Health Organization. Yet we're doing a complete optimization and digitalization. It's becoming fully digitized in the sense that it's going to be complete e-governance, and that is something that will make all of our work very, very quick. Furthermore, there is a very strong effort in terms of what are we doing with clinical trials, and especially now in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis, what are we to do and how are we doing these jump-starting processes is something that the Sanitary Regulation Authority and Dr. Novella has worked very, very strongly on having some very effective and very quick ways of getting phases 3 authorized and at the same time jump-started. So there's a fast-track protocol for medications that are COVID-19 related. That would be a second thing that I'd speak about. But then there's a third thing that I think is key for anyone thinking about the Mexican market. As the Mexican market itself, I've spoken just very quickly in terms of just what the public sector buys. It's a $20 billion market for the next couple of years. On the other hand, we also provide access to the US market. And there is something very important. Mexico has a strong regional integration with the United States and Canada. This work has enabled for Mexican businessmen to actually be focused upon what opportunities or what businesses are available at the United States. Establishing yourselves here and joining the Mexican ecosystem enables for closer access and leveraging upon the relationships that Mexico has worked upon with our neighbors since birth. So Mexico and the United States have a very close relationship, and the connections you can have here can also delve into other options and into other business opportunities. Furthermore, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and in particular, what I've been instructed to follow up on is how can we leverage upon also our region, because Latin America is you see many countries and you see that our different it would seem as if there's different views, but in reality we are very, very similar. We share very common goals and a lot of common aspirations, and at the same time, and in particular with Colombia, we share many industries, and the integration between both our economies is very strong. Furthermore, the rest of Latin America can also benefit from the availability and also patent protection that exists in Mexico. And from Mexico, you can think of a regional approach to Latin America and the United States, while at the same time, last year, we were successful in concluding our renegotiation of the European Union's, you could say, trade agreement, which also enables for further market access. So in that sense, what I'm trying to pretty much draw upon and sketch for all of you is that you have strong government support that's focused on its pharma industry in terms of what is actually here. Second of all is in terms of business, being here also enables for new business connections that would not be readily available in other regions. And thirdly, there is a very strong will on actually working together. And if you have several investments or are looking to have several connections within Latin America, we will privilege that. Mexico is part of the Pacific Alliance, and in that sense, with our partners, what we want to do is generate opportunities not only for Mexican people, but for the rest of Latin America. And I would end saying that with India has a very strong industry that has actually been able to cut costs, be very efficient, very effective, and with a lot of R&D that actually, because of India's scale, well, it's pretty fantastic and impressive. So in that sense, moving on, trying to find or trying to partner up with Mexico can enable for a different view. And Mexico's opportunity is not one of just focusing on export. Mexico's opportunity is one where you can come and invest, and you can join a vibrant ecosystem that actually gets nurtured and that's pretty much outwardly focused. Last but not least, I'd say that at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and if anybody has a particular interest on landing in Mexico or trying to explore a particular aspect, and if you want to be in our pretty much mailing list in terms of what are the new developments with the United Nations with this global tender that is to take place, we'd very gladly be available, and we will also keep with your embassy closely in touch so that His Eminence, His Excellency can have His Eminency Ambassador Bora can have all the information for you, and we're looking to find longer term relationships. We're not looking only for import and export, which is also good. I must say, it's not necessarily bad. So, thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone's time, and I hope I didn't run over time, but thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Singh, as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gileta. We look forward to strengthening the relationship between India and Mexico. Definitely. Now, I would like to invite to share his business experience, Mr. Gurulinga Ponanur, Vice President of IMBC and General Director of Hetero Drugs in Mexico. Welcome, Mr. Guru.
Thank you, Amparo. And a very good morning for all my friends, fellow panelists, and my dear participants for this part of the world, and a very good evening for all my friends who are in the other part of the world, India. I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Manpreet Ora, His Excellency Sanjeev Ranjan, Dr. Dinesh Duva
Hello.
for
So I
giving us
guess
this
now we should
opportunity.
ask Amparo to just call me, or because I believe she won't be calling me after that. Okay, or
Admin,
it does
please
not
mute
matter. You can
everybody.
just ask me to
Admin,
give me a vote of thanks.
admin, please
Hello.
mute everybody. Admin. Go ahead, Guru Lingaji.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for Dinesh Duva, Javier of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, my dear colleague and friend Inder, my dear panelists and participants. Yeah, before I think going into the real experience, what I have had in Mexico for last 14 years since I've been here, I would like to touch upon a few market data that might be of interest for many participants who are looking at this market as a business opportunity, as an entry point for pharmaceutical sector and a business opportunity. Mexico per se in the pharmaceutical market is about $13 billion market for finished product, which is comprising of private market and the government business that we say, which was just mentioned by Javier. Government market is about for the last year 1920, it was about $3.5 billion, which is pretty attractive for any market in terms of volumes and the price that we are getting. The way we look at the market as a company or any company that I generally say, any market which has more than 100 million population should be an attractive market in terms of volumes for anybody. So Mexico is the 10th most populated country in the world. And in terms of market size, as I said, 13 plus billion market size is about, if and at 12th position in the world and second largest in Latin America. So I think with that means me being in hetero, it is privilege for me to handle both API, finished formulations, as well as the manufacturing plant that we have in Mexico. And little to means I would like to just brief upon 2 or 3 points. My other panelist, Consuelo, has talked about regulatory strategies and regulatory details of Mexico. Mexico is not an easy country to enter for any Indian company or any foreign companies, generic companies per se. Regulatory framework is really strong, and for any product that needs to be registered out here, you need to have means I'll just touch upon basic few important regulatory points. That is, for any formulation that is just solid orals, you need to have a local bioequivalence done in Mexico. So which is in itself is very expensive and lengthy process because of the stringent regulatory requirement that COFEPRIS is having. So that is a primary impediment that we can say, as Dr. Duba was mentioning previously, that if at all we are able to, as a group, if we are able to convince the Mexican regulatory authorities, and if we get into the harmonization process of having, okay, if a product is launched in US, Europe, or if the company has US FDA approvals, if we cut all these processes, I think the entry point would be pretty easy. So as I have seen, I think general cost for just to have a complete dossier is about $250,000 to $500,000 for each product, depending on the kind of product. So, and apart from that, again, the time to entry and the cost of opportunity is also really lengthy. By the time things, it takes pretty good time to enter this market. And means I would have been very happy if there was something called as fast tracking for these kind of pre-regulatory approvals for many companies. I think companies like Hetero, Dr. Reddy, Zydus, all these companies are predominantly a big companies in India, which has a very high quality products, and which comes when all these products come from their FDA approved or European approved plants. But it is not there since fast tracking is not there or any lenience is not. I think it'll take some time for any of us to enter this market in formulation sector. And again, coming to another point is biotech sector. Biotech sector is something which is unprecedented and growing in India. We in India have a lot of biotech products, but again, this is one sector which is been very much unexplored by any Indian company. And again, due to the stringent regulatory requirements that has been asked by COFEPRIS, we are still unable to explore this market. I hope we all should come together and sit with the regulatory authorities. I think here Javier is there. I think I would request that we should come together and see what could be done in this sector.
Gladly.
Yeah. Then the other point I would also like to say and touch upon and impress upon Javier is that we as a foreigner, we have a lot of restrictions in getting the market access, especially in Mexico. Yeah, I know these kind of regulations is not there in Colombia or any of the other countries in LATAM. Yes, of course, in Brazil, some kind of restrictions. So there are some restrictions that hinder our ease of doing business in Mexico, especially for pharmaceutical sector from India. So there are certain activities that we need to do once we import the product into Mexico. Something called as secondary QC release. And to do this, I think there are we need to go through lots of processes, right from import license for working standards, impurities, all those things, which will take a lot of time. And we feel that we are not in a level playing field with the other local companies, because this itself takes a lot of time, energy, and the investments. And moving further, I think these are some points which Consuelo did not touch upon because of the shortage of time. The local stability that any finished formulation company that needs to do if we want to do a renewal of our registrations. These are some points that I would like to impress upon to the fellow panelists and the Pharmexcil also to consider, so that we can make the ease of doing business, especially for Indian pharmaceutical company, a little bit more easier. So that is something which has to be taken on a priority. I think me being a part of IMBC, we are working closely with COFEPRIS and the other authorities for seeing how we could harmonize these kind of points for especially Indian pharmaceutical sector, which can give a very high quality and affordable products to Mexican population, especially with the new initiatives that is being taken by President Lopez Obrador's party now, I think we as Indians can do a lot of things. It's a big opportunity for us to take this market share, especially with Javier saying that for the next 4 years they are planning to purchase about $20 billion worth of medicines for Mexico. I think this is where I come up and say, Mr. Javier, that we need to sit together, do some close work to see that both the countries are benefited for this sector. Apart from that, sharing my experience in Mexico, yes, we have a big market for finished formulation and API. As I said, 13 billion market is a very attractive market, out of which generic market comprises of about 6 plus 3, which is $9 billion generic market, which is a huge market in terms of per unit average price in Mexico. It is really high compared to any other pharmaceutical market in Latin America. We are very few companies from India. That is because of the high regulatory and stringent measures that has been put forward by COFEPRIS. And we in Hetero, we are in both the spaces, FD and API. We do B2B business. We are into a prescription market, and we are also into a generic space. Future, we are also coming up with local manufacturing to take advantage of all the other issues that we face, probably right from transportation of the product. We generally bring the product through air because of the regulations, and that is what we are thinking. We are mostly in niche sector, though the cardiovasculars, anti-diabetic, gastroenterology, all these markets are big. For us, I don't know how it is for others. For us, it is not that attractive to enter these kind of segments because of price pressures. The intention of Hetero is, and vision of us too, is give a very high quality products at an affordable price in these niche sectors like oncology, biotechnology, and of course we are very big, and we share more than 30% market share in retrovirals, and we are very happy to be there in this sector. When it comes to API, we in Hetero, we share a very big, pretty encouraging market share. We sell about, we have more than 300 product portfolio to offer to Mexico. We work with most of the Mexican manufacturers, and we offer a very high quality products which are manufactured mostly in US and US approved and European approved plants. And most of our partners are taking advantage of our competitive pricing. And I would like to stress upon this point, saying that at this point of time, we Indians have edged out Chinese manufacturers in API segment. I think we Indians are pretty much in sync with the market requirement and giving the quality product consistently and competing with the global pricing. And with this opportunity, I think I would say that most of my fellow friends and other companies, I think, should take the opportunity and try to look at Mexico as a big opportunity market. And once again, thank you for everybody for patiently listening. I know that I am the last speaker, and I would not, and it is pretty late in India. Thank you very much for everybody. And any doubts or any questions that you guys have, please shoot it. I think we can answer from the Indian business perspective, as well as from my personal experience perspective. Thank you very much for patience listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gurlinga, for your detailed experience in Mexican market. Yes, sir. Indeed, we have planned the Q&A session for about 10 minutes. But since most of the questions raised in Q&A has already been answered by the respective speakers, so with your due permissions, we would like to skip off this session and we are looking for to follow up the meeting. Yes, sir.
Lakshmi, may I suggest?
Please, sir.
It's been an excellent interaction, although it's particularly another distinguished delegates and speakers from that part of the world in Latin America. It's far exceeded the appointed time, but it's been a pleasure. I wish it could have gone on for another 1 hour. It was so exceedingly interesting, engaging, and super. Gratitude on behalf of Pharmexcil to everybody, right from Inderji to Javier to Christian to Marpo, and God knows I lose track of the names. So it's sincere gratitude. And Gurulinga, you said it right. You hit the nail on the head, in terms of where you guys are in Mexico and Colombia and where we are. So what a great amalgam. Thank you so much. And please do share all the contact details of all the dignitaries here, as well as the presentations, so that let's not leave the momentum here. Let's take it forward as we go along. And I promise you, sir, His Excellency Manpreet Ji and Sanjeev Ji staff, that as soon as we are out of COVID, first trip is to Latin America, first to Mexico, then to Colombia, and then to Brazil. So we look forward to that, sir. Such a pleasure indeed.
Yeah,
Honored
we welcome you in Colombia
all
here.
of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. And go ahead, Lakshmi, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. Now I request my colleague, Mr. Chandran, to extend a formal vote of thanks from Pharmexcil.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable dignitaries, distinguished guests, and dear participants. On behalf of Pharmexcil and the organizing committee, I feel immense pleasure in taking this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to His Excellency Mr. Sanjeev Ranjan, Ambassador of India in Colombia, and to His Excellency Mr. Manpreet Bora, Ambassador of India in Mexico, for sparing the time from their busy schedule and their constant guidance in organizing the seminar. I would further like to thank Dr. Dinesh Dua, Chairman Pharmaceuticals, for giving his insight on the Indian pharma industry and how it serves a significant role in meeting global needs, especially in these challenging times. I would like to thank Dr. Geeta Krishnan, Indian representative of Ayush to World Health Organization, for sharing the highlights of Indian Ayurvedic system of medicines. From Colombia, I would like to thank Ms. Judith, Director of Medicines and Biological Product, and VIMA, for guiding us through the regulatory framework in Colombia. My sincere thanks to Mr. Juan, Director of Pro Colombia, and Mr. Brian from CIPLA for sharing their business experience and for giving their insight on the opportunities available in the pharma sector in Colombia. From Mexico, I would like to thank Mr. Inder Singh, Chairman, India-Mexico Business Chamber, for highlighting the prospect of improvement in the bilateral pharma trade between India and Mexico. I would like to express my gratitude to Ms. Consela, DG of DEFI, for giving us the insight on the regulatory framework in Mexico. My sincere thanks to Mr. Javier, DG LISO, Civil Society and Economic Drive, and Mr. Gurulinga, Journal Director of Hetero Drugs, Mexico, for sharing their business experience and highlighting the opportunities for Indian pharma sector in Mexico. I am also immensely grateful to our Director General, Mr. Uday Bhaskar, who could not join us today due to some unavoidable circumstances. I would like to thank him for his guidance and encouragement extended to all of us that led to organizing the event successfully. I would also especially like to thank Ms. Lakshmi Prasanna from Pharmexcil, Mr. Christian from Colombia India Chamber of Commerce, and Ms. Amparo from India-Mexico Business Chamber for their untiring effort in organizing and structuring this event. And my deep sense of gratitude to all my dedicated colleagues from Pharmexcil. Last but not the least, this event would not have been a success without the participation of pharma fraternity. We thank you all for being with us for this seminar. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
I must say, Chandranshu, the engagement was so intense and numerically so significant. I just counted. There were 137 participants. Sir. Incredibly good. So what a pleasure. It's been so exciting, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Dua. Thank you, Inder. Thank you, our friends in Colombia, my colleague Sanjeev. It's been wonderful seeing all of you. I think I've certainly learned a lot, and I hope this webinar will prove to be very useful in guiding both the Indian industry as well as regulators and officials in Mexico and in Colombia. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Inderji.
Everyone.
Sat Shri Akal, sir.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Have a great day, sir. We're going to sleep well for sure.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We'll share the presentations with all the audience probably in coming 2 days. And you can reach out to Pharmexcil for any other further queries, or to the Christian and Amparo also for queries from Colombia and Mexico. And we look forward to share the information, whatever we are could able to get and share with all the members. Thanks for your patient listening, and namaskar.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.